Have you ever caught yourself rewriting a memory to make it feel better? Maybe you've told yourself a failing relationship was fine, or that a mistake at work wasn't really your fault. But what if these comforting illusions are quietly shaping your entire reality? In this video, we'll explore why we cling to these little lies, and what happens when we start to let them go. Why we rewrite reality in our heads. Have you ever thought about how your memories don't feel like perfectly preserved snapshots, but more like a scrapbook you've tinkered with over the years? Instead of recalling events exactly as they happened, you might find yourself tweaking the details, polishing some parts, erasing others, until the story feels right. But why do we do this? Why does the human brain edit reality like it's constructing a personal highlight reel? Part of the answer lies in how we deal with discomfort. Imagine someone reflecting on a job they hated but spent years at. Years later, they'll say something like, "It wasn't that bad, I learned a lot." Sure, learning happened, but what's actually going on here is probably deeper. The brain doesn't like to dwell on contradictions. Cognitive dissonance, the term psychologists use for the mental friction that happens when reality and our beliefs don't sync, is like static in your head. To clear it, we subconsciously rewrite the narrative. Turning those miserable work hours into a valuable growth period helps us avoid that sour feeling of time wasted or decisions regretted. And it's not just jobs. People often do this in relationships too. Picture someone convincing themselves their partner's red flags aren't deal breakers. "Oh, they're not emotionally distant," they might say. "They're just independent, that's all." This is how cognitive dissonance sneaks into daily life, wrapping an uncomfortable reality in packaging that's easier to hold on to. Pretending everything's fine, even if it's not, can feel like saving your sanity in the moment, but it's usually at the expense of understanding what's really going on. What's wild is that science backs this up. Studies on memory have shown that what we think we're recall experts at, our own lives, is far from accurate. Memories aren't static, they're flexible, constantly reshaped by emotions and new information. Elizabeth Loftus, a cognitive psychologist who specializes in the fallibility of memory, has demonstrated that false memories can even be created through suggestion. Remembering something wrong isn't deliberate. It's how the brain insulates you from stress, regret, or even a hit to your self-esteem. It's protection, not manipulation. Think of it like bad movie editing. Imagine watching a film where the director cuts out all the messiest, confusing scenes just to make the story feel more upbeat or coherent. Sure, the movie might feel smoother, but it loses depth and authenticity. That's what we do to our own lives, editing without even realizing we've left the most important layers on the cutting room floor. The result? A version of our story that feels satisfying, but isn't necessarily true. But here's the tricky part. These comforting stories aren't just innocent tweaks to soften the blow. Sometimes they become mental cages. If you've convinced yourself that your relationship is fine, your job is tolerable, your mistakes weren't that bad, what motivation do you have to change anything? The story you've convinced yourself to believe feels easier to live with than the messy reality underneath. But in avoiding that reality, you end up stuck, unable to resolve the very discomfort you were trying to escape in the first place. So, why does it matter? Because this is more than just about comfort. Rewriting reality to shield yourself from pain limits your ability to grow. People often say painful experiences teach you the most, but that only happens if you face them honestly. The more you gloss over those tough truths, the harder it becomes to actually move on. And here's where it gets even more interesting. This act of rewriting your reality is just one layer of a much bigger phenomenon, our tendency to construct entire worlds of comforting illusions. So if our brains are hardwired to turn down the volume on reality, what else might we be unconsciously clinging to? That's exactly what we're unpacking next. The psychology of why comfort wins over truth. Why do we choose the comforting lie over the uncomfortable truth? Part of the answer comes down to how our minds are wired. The human brain has a deep, almost primal need to create certainty where there is none. Life is unpredictable, chaotic, and, let's face it, often painful. A little too painful for our liking. So as a way of protecting ourselves, we construct stories that smooth out the rough edges of reality. These stories might not always match the facts, but they keep us afloat. It's not just about avoiding discomfort, it's about survival, emotionally and psychologically. Think about denial for a second, one of the most well-documented defense mechanisms. It's what someone relies on when they see their bills piling up, but tell themselves, "I'm sure it'll all just work itself out." Deep down, they probably know that ignoring overdue notices isn't a long-term solution, but denial serves a short-term purpose. It delays feeling overwhelmed, even if that overwhelming moment is inevitable. And it's not just denial. Our brains also lean on rationalization, which is essentially our way of explaining away something we don't want to face. Picture someone stuck in a lonely friendship that's gone stale. They notice the unanswered texts, the avoidant energy, but instead of confronting it, they might tell themselves, "Oh, they've just been busy." It's easier to believe that than face the possibility that a friendship isn't what it used to be. Rationalization creates a bridge between what we wish were true and what actually is. But why are these mechanisms so effective? It's because they happen on autopilot. Most of us aren't actively choosing to deny the issues in front of us or to rationalize behaviors that don't align with reality. These processes operate quietly, beneath the surface, sparing us from the immediate sting of facing hard truths. Sigmund Freud first laid out these psychological defenses, describing them as ways the ego protects itself from stress or feelings it can't handle. Modern psychology has only expanded on this, showing how they kick in as a kind of emotional armor, an instinctive way to maintain control and stability. The paradox, though, is that the very thing protecting us can eventually backfire. These comforting illusions that save us from today's discomfort often come at the price of tomorrow's growth. A clear example, someone clinging to the idea that their finances are fine may one day wake up in a mountain of debt they can no longer ignore. Or the friend rationalizing a fractured relationship might find themselves grieving the loss of that connection all at once because they didn't address it earlier. These small, quiet decisions to avoid the truth tend to snowball, and when the illusion breaks, it's far messier than if we had faced reality from the beginning. This is where philosophy enters the picture. Plato's allegory of the cave is one of the most famous examinations of human illusion. In the story, prisoners are chained inside a cave, staring at shadows cast on a wall. To them, the shadows are reality. They don't know they're only reflections of something greater happening outside. For many of us, the comforting stories we create are like those shadows. We think they're real because they feel safe, even as they keep us staring at the same wall. And yet, just as Plato's prisoners risked pain and confusion by stepping into the light, we face a similar challenge when we choose to confront the truth. It's disorienting, it's hard, but the alternative is staying trapped in illusions that feel secure but leave no room for real growth or self-awareness. But here's the twist. This isn't just a personal struggle anymore. Technology has found ways to amplify these tendencies, making it harder than ever to step out of the shadows. Social media, for example, feeds our need for comfort by offering endless streams of validation, curated content, and easy distractions. It feels good, but what are we sacrificing along the way? This brings us to an important question. If these defenses shield us from pain, and if we lean on them so instinctively, how much are we giving up in exchange for that short-term comfort? Are we trading authenticity for a sense of safety? And if so, is the cost worth it? Illusions in the age of social media. Imagine you're scrolling through your social media feed. Every post feels like it was made just for you. Your favorite quotes, your political opinions, your dream destinations, even ads for things you didn't know you wanted but suddenly can't live without. It's a digital world built entirely off your preferences. But here's the thing, it's not real. Social media algorithms are designed to cater to exactly what you like, to keep you comfortable, entertained, and clicking. And while this feels amazing, it also amplifies a dangerous tendency we already have, the desire to believe only what makes us feel good. Our brains are naturally wired for patterns and familiarity, and social media takes full advantage of that. Algorithms don't just serve you more of what you're interested in, they reinforce your worldview. If you're convinced of something, whether it's a niche hobby or a divisive belief, the content you see will start to align more and more perfectly with what you already think is true. It's called confirmation bias. Our brains love it because it feels like certainty. When the world outside feels chaotic, the steady stream of agreeable content is soothing. But comfort comes at a cost. The more you're fed what you want to see, the less likely you are to question whether it's accurate or whether it even reflects the bigger picture. And it doesn't stop there. Think about how we present ourselves online. Profiles, posts, selfies, curated doesn't even begin to describe it. We don't post the truth, we post the version of the truth we hope people will believe. A group photo where everyone seems happy can hide weeks of tension between friends. A carefully written caption about loving the grind at work can conceal burnout. Even your search history leaves little breadcrumbs for algorithms to follow, shaping the identity they think you want. Over time, even you start believing the version of yourself that you've constructed. That's the trap. Social media doesn't just let us seek illusions, it helps us live in them. It's not hard to see how this can spiral, especially when you add misinformation to the equation. It's easier than ever to stumble across false narratives that feel real, simply because they match how you already see the world. Studies have shown that false information spreads faster and further online than the truth, especially when it stirs emotions like anger or affirmation. Why? Because content that feels right hits faster than content you have to think critically about. That's how echo chambers form, small bubbles of thought where everyone agrees and no dissent sneaks in. Inside, the truth becomes blurry, irrelevant even, and all the while, the algorithms assume they're doing you a favor by keeping you happy and engaged. It's all very slick, isn't it? You get to feel validated, entertained, and informed all in one go. But stepping back from this feels like standing in a house of mirrors. Every reflection you see feels familiar, but none of them show the whole you. They're bits and pieces, distortions that reflect what you're comfortable with, not the reality beyond the glass. Here's the irony. Technology isn't just amplifying self-deception, it's making it harder to break out of it. Modern life allows us to hide from the truth in ways that Plato or Descartes could have never imagined. If the shadows in Plato's cave were comforting illusions, our digital lives have turned those shadows into high-definition projections. Unlike the cave, though, we aren't chained in place. The chains are in our minds, built from familiarity, convenience, and the fear of confronting something uncomfortable. So where do we go from here? Awareness is important, sure. Just recognizing that these patterns exist is a start, but breaking out of them takes more than just knowing they're there. It takes something we don't often talk about in a world that prioritizes ease: courage. The courage to say, maybe I've been wrong, or maybe this version of myself I've created isn't the full picture. It's tough because facing those truths will probably hurt, but growth doesn't come from clinging to what feels good. It comes from confronting what's real. And here's something else. Technology isn't entirely the villain here. The same tools that create illusions can also help break them down. Algorithms can feed us echo chambers, but they can also expose us to new perspectives if we're willing to look. Social media can spread misinformation, but it can also spread insight and truth. The key is how we choose to use it. Are we scrolling to stay comfortable, or are we willing to use these tools to challenge ourselves, our ideas, our beliefs, even our self-perception? Because at the end of the day, the question isn't just whether these illusions exist, it's whether we're brave enough to step out of them. Comfort might feel like the goal, but maybe what we really need is a little more discomfort, a little more honesty. What reflections in your own house of mirrors are you ready to look past? Choosing illusions over truth feels safe. That's why we do it. It protects us from the sting of uncertainty or failure. But here's the twist. These illusions aren't shields, they're walls. Walls we build around our growth, our relationships, even our sense of self. What would happen if you let one of those walls crumble? Maybe it's admitting to yourself that a job, a friendship, or even a belief isn't as solid as you've convinced yourself it is. It's terrifying, I get it. But the truth? That's where freedom lives. So, which illusion are you ready to leave behind first?